At the beginning of the story, we see the Cold War taking place between the USA and Russia. Due to this conflict, Russia's Soviet Union is running a secret organization called Patriot, where numerous scientists work together to conduct experiments on people from different nationalities. Their goal is to transform these individuals into superheroes so that they can protect their motherland from enemies. However, due to a mysterious explosion, the lab, along with their entire experiment, is destroyed. After this incident, no one knows anything about the superheroes or the scientists who created them, where they went, or what happened to them. Well, in the present time, the Russian army is testing its new robots. These robots do not require human operation as they are highly advanced AI systems. Everything seems to be going well during the testing, but suddenly, the robots turn against their own side. They start attacking their own team's tanks and helicopters. The army is completely helpless against these robots, and within moments, the robots destroy all military vehicles. After that, they attack the generals and technicians, killing them as well. At this moment, we find out that the mastermind behind this attack is Dr. Kuratov, who was one of the scientists working on the Patriot project many years ago. Dr. Kuratov had now gained immense superpowers. With these abilities, he could generate electricity and control machines. Using his powers, he took control of all the robots and led them away with him. Sometime later, the Ministry of Defense holds a meeting to gather information about this incident. During the meeting, Major General Nikolai informs everyone about the events that took place during the Cold War. He explains that back in the 1940s, a scientist named Kuratov was in charge of the technology department under the Patriot project. Kuratov was working on a project called Module 1, which aimed to control any vehicle remotely through a device. However, his experiment failed, leading to the project being shut down. After this, Kuratov became jealous of Professor Victor, the head of the Patriot project, because Victor had successfully developed an experiment that granted humans superpowers. Determined to advance his own personal experiments, Kuratov decided to steal Victor's research. In reality, he wanted to surpass Victor and establish himself as a great scientist. As a result of his ambition, many people became victims of his experiments. Because of this, Kuratov was eventually arrested. However, he managed to escape and went into hiding in his secret lab. In response, the army launched an operation against him and raided his lab. But Kuratov had already planted explosives at the location. A massive explosion occurred, killing everyone present. At that time, the army generals assumed that Kuratov had died in the blast. However, he had actually survived. The chemicals released from the explosion altered his body, turning him into the very experiment he had once worked on, Module 1. Following this, Nikolai states that to defeat Kuratov, they must find the superheroes that he had once created. Meanwhile, we see Kuratov infiltrating a military warehouse and stealing all the vehicles and resources. After the meeting, the Ministry of Defense decides to reopen the Patriot organization. Major Elena is assigned to take charge of the operation. Elena instructs her team to search for the superheroes, and this mission is named the Guardians. As soon as they gather some information about their superpowers, they set out on their search. Their first destination is a hidden temple in Armenia, where they find a superhero named Lair. He had abandoned his past life and was now living as a hermit. Elena approaches him and speaks to him about the Patriot project. In response, Lair demonstrates his powers by levitating stones into the air. However, he refuses to join the mission, stating that he wants nothing to do with the project. But when Elena reveals that Kuratov is still alive, Lair changes his mind and agrees to join them, as he seeks revenge against Kuratov. Next, they travel to East Kazakhstan, where they find the second superhero, Khan. When agents approach Khan with heavily armed vehicles, he uses his incredible speed to dodge their attacks and takes them down with his sword. However, when he sees Lair, he pauses. Lair convinces him to join the team, emphasizing that their shared enemy is still out there. After this, they head to northern Siberia, where the third superhero, Arsis, is living deep in the jungle. The moment Arsis spots some soldiers, he transforms into a beast and hurls them away. As soon as he notices Lair and Khan, he stops. Arsis, also fueled by the desire for revenge, agrees to join them. Now, they set out to find the last superhero in Moscow. Here, Xenia has become a famous performer who uses her powers during her pool performances. She can turn invisible in water. That evening, after one of her shows, she finds Khan waiting in her dressing room and immediately attacks him. To avoid the fight, Khan swiftly moves to the other side of the room, reminding her that he is an old friend. However, Xenia attacks him again. At that moment, Lair arrives, but Xenia doesn't hold back and strikes him too. A fight breaks out, but Lair emerges victorious. After all, he was the one who had trained Xenia in combat. Just then, Arsus enters and tries to make her understand their mission. He reminds her that they have all remained young for the past 40 years because of their powers. He explains that even though she may not remember them, she can still join them in defeating the man responsible for making them this way. Meanwhile, we see Kuratov, who has now created an army of clones. At the same time, the superheroes arrive at the Patriot headquarters. Xenia reveals that she only remembers events from 1978, when a doctor found her near Svastopol. However, no one was able to identify her. The only clue to her identity was the ring she was wearing, from which she learned her name. The doctor had told her that in time her memories would return, but that has not happened yet. After this, Xenia noticed that she was no longer aging. To avoid drawing attention, she began traveling from place to place, keeping a low profile. Xenia then explains her powers. She can become invisible in water and has the ability to control her body temperature according to different situations. Meanwhile, an officer from Elena's team arrives and informs them that they have spotted Kuratov at a scrapyard. It appears that he is using the location as his command center. The team immediately sets out for the location. Upon arrival, Xenia is delighted to see the rain. She steps into the water and, as expected, turns invisible. Just then, they realize that someone has jammed their signal, cutting off their communication with headquarters. Now, the four heroes decide to split up and attack from different directions. Xenia, using her abilities, slips inside the facility undetected. However, Kuratov's guards are equipped with special glasses that allow them to detect body heat. Because of this, they quickly spot Xenia and use their specialized weapons to freeze her on the spot. Meanwhile, Arsus and Khan use their special powers to take down as many enemies as possible. However, when Khan stops attacking for a moment, the guards strike him with a paralyzing dart, immobilizing him. At the same time, Arsus is trapped in a reinforced net and captured. Inside the building, Lair causes a small earthquake before covering his body with stone armor and attacking. He eliminates all the guards in his way. Just then, Kuratov arrives and launches an attack on Lair. However, Kuratov's attacks do not seem to affect him. But as the battle continues, Kuratov gains the upper hand and severely injures Lair by breaking his back. After this, Lair sees that Khan and Arsus are imprisoned inside Kuratov's force field cell. Kuratov tells them, "I know all of your powers and weaknesses, which is why my guards have been equipped with special weapons to capture you." Here, Kuratov gives them an offer to join him, but Arsus refuses outright. In response, Kuratov gives them 24 hours to reconsider. At that moment, Arsus throws his knife toward Kuratov, but because of the force field, the knife fails to escape. Following this, Kuratov gathers the stolen tanks and launches a massive attack on the city. After this attack, news reports state that all the army tanks have been stolen by an unknown enemy. Along with this, it is reported that their satellite transmitter has also been stolen. The news then reveals that an unidentified enemy is marching toward Moscow with his army, which causes mass panic, forcing civilians to flee the city. Here, it is revealed that Kuratov had made a deal with General Dolgov. The agreement was that if Dolgov handed over the superheroes, Kuratov would not take control of anything. However, Kuratov betrays Dolgov and kills him. In reality, Kuratov was preparing to initiate his Module 2 project. Under this project, Kuratov plans to use the stolen transmitter to connect Ostankino Tower and Federation Tower, which will send a signal to the Russian satellite network. Once this signal is sent, Kuratov will gain control over all satellites, and with it, he will control everything on Earth. Meanwhile, Elena takes Lair back to headquarters. Once Lair recovers, he shares an emotional truth with Elena. He tells her, "When I was unconscious, I saw my daughter. I watched her grow old, and I even saw her die right before my eyes." Lair, deeply sorrowful, reveals that because of his superpowers, he does not age. This has left him heartbroken, as he has had to witness his loved ones grow old and pass away while he remains unchanged. Soon after, Kuratov's former partner Victor arrives to meet Elena. Victor explains that he has been in hiding for years, but after seeing Kuratov on the news, he decided to come forward because they would need his help to stop him. Victor immediately begins working on healing Lair and also informs Elena about the location of Kuratov's secret lab. He instructs her to go there and rescue the other superheroes. Following Victor's guidance, Elena's team infiltrates the secret lab, eliminates the guards, and frees the Guardians. However, Khan silently walks away without saying a word. Meanwhile, Kuratov is seen transporting the two towers away from the city. On the other side, Elena speaks with Arsus, who seems troubled. Arsus tells her that he is worried about Xenia. After reuniting with her after so many years, she still does not remember him. Because of this, he has decided to keep his distance from her. Additionally, Arsus is struggling with the changes in his body. He confesses, "Every day I feel myself transforming into a wild beast. I'm afraid that one day I might never return to my human form." Hearing this, Elena promises him, "I will never let that happen." She also reassures him that Victor might be able to find a cure for him. At the same time, Victor is inside Kuratov's secret lab, studying his clones. Just then, Kuratov arrives and accuses Victor of betrayal. Furious, he says, "You worked alone and stole the results of the superhero experiment. You betrayed me." Kuratov then vows to prove to the world who the true genius is. Saying this, he releases a deadly gas inside the lab, killing Victor. Shortly after, Kuratov connects the two towers and sets up the space transmitter. As soon as he activates the powerful machine, the Patriot system detects it and realizes Kuratov's plan. To stop him, they deploy a squadron of fighter jets. However, Kuratov commands his stolen army robots to fire at the planes. The robots unleash an all-out attack, destroying all the fighter jets. Meanwhile, on top of a building, Elena finds Khan standing alone. She approaches him and asks what's troubling him. Khan reveals a painful memory. He says, "I had a brother who was a great fighter. I always wanted to be like him. Then I met Kuratov, who made me more powerful." Khan continues, "I once challenged my brother to a fight, but during the battle, I lost control and killed him." Hearing this, Elena sympathizes with him and reminds him that right now, the city needs him. After this, the team reunites once again. Here, Elena tells the Guardians that they have designed new suits and weapons for them. Arsus receives a special cannon that has a high-precision targeting system. This cannon is directly linked to Arsus's nervous system, meaning wherever his aggression is focused, the cannon will automatically lock onto that target. Additionally, when Arsus fully transforms into beast mode, the cannon will switch to complete automation. Meanwhile, Khan's suit will protect him from all kinds of damage. The suit has the power to block bullets, blades, and even prevent any type of injection from penetrating his body. Now, they look at Lear's suit, which allows him to always have stones at his disposal. He is also given a special whip that enables him to use his electromagnetic power to attack enemies. Then they show Xenia her suit. After wearing it, she can turn invisible at any time and even make anything she touches invisible. After this, all four of them start practicing with their new weapons. Initially, they face some difficulties, but with proper training, they learn to control them. Meanwhile, Kuratov is charging the tower to send his signal. The Guardians have only 1 hour to stop him. The team plans a mission to destroy the tower's force field. Once they succeed, they must escape quickly, as the rocket launchers will soon destroy all of Moscow. Lear enters Kuratov's area through a tunnel and easily kills several guards. On the other side, Arsus and Xenia fight against the guards on the streets. Xenia becomes invisible and eliminates them, while Arsus goes into beast mode and slaughters them all. After this, Xenia rides on Arsus's back to meet Lear at the mall. Meanwhile, Khan reaches the tower by plane, but the robots attack his aircraft, making it difficult for him to jump. At the same time, Arsus, Lear, and Xenia begin crossing a massive pipe to reach Kuratov's tower. During this, the guards fire at them, causing Arsus to slip. Lear activates his whip to create a shield. Just then, Khan jumps from the plane and lands below, taking down the enemy guards. Meanwhile, inside Kuratov's lab, Elena finds Victor alive, but he doesn't have much time left. Victor tells Elena that if all the superheroes combine their powers, their strength will increase significantly, making it easier to defeat Kuratov. After this, all four Guardians enter the tower and eliminate some guards before reaching the generator. Xenia grabs the generator and short-circuits it using her body. The pain is unbearable, but she manages to deactivate the tower's force field. Before she collapses, Arsus catches her. Meanwhile, the army prepares to destroy the tower and kill Kuratov, but Elena tells them to wait, saying the Guardians should get their chance for revenge. Now, the Guardians approach Kuratov. At this moment, Kuratov uses his powers to disable Arsus and Lear's whip with ease. After that, he brutally beats Khan. Just then, Xenia turns invisible and distracts Kuratov. She then touches Lear, making him invisible as well. Together, they use the whip to trap Kuratov. Khan then tries to stab Kuratov with his blade, but Kuratov is too strong. He frees himself using a shockwave and throws all three Guardians backward. At that moment, Arsus rises in beast mode and attacks Kuratov. However, Kuratov overpowers him as well, injuring him severely. Meanwhile, the army gives the order to launch a missile to destroy the area. Khan, noticing a plane flying above, connects his grappling line to it and tries to take all his teammates away from the danger zone. However, Kuratov takes control of the plane, forcing Khan to cut the line. As a result, all of them fall into a river. At the exact same moment, the army launches the missile. However, before it can reach Kuratov, he uses his powers to take control of it and send it flying into the sky. Kuratov then once again starts reconnecting with the satellite. Meanwhile, Elena meets the Guardians by the riverbank and tells them everything Victor had said. Realizing what they must do, the Guardians take a huge risk and concentrate all their powers on Lair. This creates a powerful energy surge that destroys the tower, ultimately killing Kuratov. Later, a news broadcast reports that the city has been saved from an unknown force. However, the existence of the Guardians remains a secret, and the public believes that the city was saved by regular military forces. Elena thanks the Guardians for their help. Now, Xenia has regained her memories and wishes to start a new life with Arceus. Before leaving, all the Guardians promise that if another great danger arises, they will return. Just before they part ways, Elena informs them that she has found more Guardians. Sometime later, two men step out of a van, and Elena emerges to confront them. She fights them, and during the struggle, one of the men reveals that he was sent by someone named Ferrum. Hearing this name, Elena looks tense, and with that, the movie comes to an end.